All right, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, if you're time shifters. So grateful for you and for everyone who's listening to this all throughout the globe. So let's take a deep breath in together in total appreciation for how far we've come and in appreciation for everything that we're about to call in. Yes. Well, paradigm shifters. What is paradigm shifters? We are a glowing, yeah, we are a glowing, growing global community of people and dedicated, dedicated to shift and uplift the planet. Shift and uplift the planet. How's that for you for a little mission statement? So we're in about 56, 57 countries. We keep growing every single day. More people are joining, which shows me that there is a yearning for shifting and uplifting.
Mm.
Yes, and yeah, amen, right, Fiona? Yeah.
Yeah.
Every month we have a different topic. July's topic, and by the way, you guys, July, we are officially into 2022 part two. So whatever it was, part one was fantastic. We're beginning the second half of 2022 here on this planet. So let me ask you a question. Is this going to be like this, like growth, or would you love exponential growth? It's up to you. You get to choose. Okay. And one of the top, one of the most important topics I feel is in our relationships, which we've been talking to all the month of July. The first, the first week we talked about relationship with nature. And sometimes it's easier for me to have a relationship with nature than it is with other people. Okay, so that was an easy one. Last week we had a beautiful presentation about relationship with yourself. That was Sue Keeper. And this week is my privilege, our privilege, to have as our guest speaker, Fiona. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Fiona. And I just met Fiona. She's been a member of Paradigm Shifters, and she's so regular. She's so consistent, and I just love that about her. So, let me tell you about Fiona. Fiona is a British citizen, and she was born in Jersey in the UK Channel Islands. How's that? Fiona's been in the hospitality industry for 38 years. Yeah, I said 38 years. That's that's might be old, longer than some of you are old. This is awesome. And so your experience has been developed in the UK, the British Channel Islands, and the Caribbean islands of St. Kitts and Nevis, Curacula, and Grenada, right? I hope I'm saying that right. So here's another thing about Fiona. She adapts with ease to different cultures. Isn't that something to aspire to? She adapts with ease to different cultures and as a result is very accustomed to local hotel and tourism needs within the Caribbean. Fiona has strong marketing links throughout several of the Caribbean islands and she travels among them regularly. So here's the interesting thing that I thought was we're going to delve into. I really can't wait to find out. She's an experience in all aspects of hotels. For the past 21 years, she's been specializing in human resources, learning and development, and in the UK with Marriott and Renaissance. Marriott and Renaissance. She was a cluster director of HR and learning, being responsible for eight 4-star and 5-star hotels until she transferred with Marriott Hotels to the Caribbean island of St. Kitts. In the 13 years of working for the Marriott International Hotels and Resources, Fiona was also invited, drumroll, to join the elite Marriott International training cadre. So she traveled through the UK and Europe as a facilitator of cutting edge management development programs, including the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. that's created by, Dr. Stephen R. Covey, and many of you know that book. In the know that program, and Fiona was actually including that, teaching it. And in the Caribbean region, Fiona has been working for the past 9 years in several luxury resorts. So now owning 2 Grenada-based companies. That's you now. Grenada. The first is Phoenix Life Coaching as a fully certified transformational life coach, and the second as Phoenix HR Consulting, specializing in hospitality training, leadership development, driving quality service standards, creating training programs, and developing people and inspiring individuals to reach their potential as your passion. So, wow. So I'm going to send this over to you, Fiona, and I would love to hear some of your experience, your stories, whatever it is. Thank you so much for being here.
It is my absolute pleasure, Judy. I've been so excited to come on here today. So, yes, my company name's Phoenix. I know it's spelt funny. It's just for F-I for Fiona. So it's Phoenix. That's why I've got this over here in my background. It's a Phoenix. So life's all about relationships. From the minute that we're born, we are thrust into the relationship situation. When we're toddlers, we need to communicate with our parents, obviously. When you're at school, you have to make friends and you have to be with the teachers. Your relationship with the teachers is very important all the way through. Socially, we wouldn't be anywhere without our friends. I'm sure you'd agree with that, and family. And work is absolutely essential. When you're going into, whether it's your own business or you're working for someone else, relationships are very, very crucial there. And then romantically, in your romance life, you need to build a strong relationship or you won't be anywhere. And everyday life, whether it's just going to a supermarket, you've got to build a relationship with, if you want to ask for something, you've got to know how to communicate with people. And that's so, so important. So going back to the work part, I would be nowhere today if it wasn't for the wonderful Marriott Hotels. Wonderful Marriott Hotels. I was with them for 13 years and I was working out some statistics, Judy, because I know you're a big fan of Marriott as well. I was working out some statistics here. So in the past 30 years from today, I've worked at 18, I've been responsible for 18 4- and 5-star hotels and resorts. And I was 13 years with Marriott. So when I was with Marriott, I think about 14 of those hotels would belong to them. So I've been in all those hotels. And in those hotels, I was responsible for leading 4,872 people. I was responsible for influencing in some way, shape, or form. I had the responsibility of it. That's what my job was, to influence those people. And that's partly where I am today, why I'm a life coach today, and also why I'm with my other company, I'm still training today, because I looked after all those people under my job role at various times. So that was great. And listen to this one, 88 different countries. The people, I sat down and I worked it all out, 88 different nationalities I had to work with over all those years. And I learned many things with going into my first ever hotel. I had about 14 nationalities in there. I very quickly learned that the best way to build a relationship with somebody is to say good morning or good afternoon in their language. So at one stage, I could say it in 16 different languages. And I moved on to learning 3 other languages semi-fluently, so that I could build those relationships with people. So Marriott's been very, 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 very important to me in my career. And I want to tell you a couple of little stories that they'll show how influential relationships are. So the first one is when I used to work at Hanbury Manor, and Hanbury Manor Hotel is a beautiful, beautiful 16th century hotel just outside London. beautiful hotel. And one day that was my base hotel when I had my 8 hotels. And that's where I was just before I moved off to the Caribbean. And one day we got this call that Bill Marriott was calling in. It was a Sunday. He was coming in on a Sunday on his way back from London. On his way to the airport, he was calling in to be with us, just to say hello to the general manager and do a couple of little things and then have afternoon tea with his wife. He said it was going to be very casual. He was going to be dressed casual. He didn't want any fuss. Typical Bill Marriott. No fuss. He said, I'm off duty, just going to come in, have a cup of tea, pass some things to the general manager that I need to, and then I'm going to go to the airport and go back to the States. Well, every single employee that worked in that hotel came into work on that Sunday. They weren't getting paid. There was only 60 of them on duty, but every single person came into work that they all wanted to meet Bill Marriott. And what they did was, my general manager asked the senior team, 6 of us, to line up at the door just to say hello on the way in, because Bill Marriott has a reputation. He doesn't spend time with the management team when he comes into hotels ever. I'm sure you've heard this. I nearly called you Mary then. I'm sure you've heard that so many times. When he comes into hotels, he says hello to the management team at the door, and then he goes straight off to meet the workers, the hard workers, the people on the shop floor. So he comes, usually what he does, and I've seen it in action so many times, he comes in and he goes straight to the housekeeping floors. And he goes into the housekeeping, a bedroom where there's a housekeeper working, and he sits down and he asks her, what makes you happy in your job? What do you love about your job? What can I change? What do you not love about your job? And he will sit there, sometimes sits on the end of the bed, and he just says, tell me what makes you happy here? Why are you with this company? And how long have you been here? And how many people have you got in your family? And he learns all about it. And he spends, no exaggeration, he spends a good 40 minutes in there, sometimes an hour, talking to several room attendants will be there, and they'll all be chit-chatting and talking to him and telling him exactly what they think. And he's another thing that he does in the middle of the night when he's staying overnight anywhere, he does this quite regularly as well. So one of the hotels that I was at on the South Coast one night, he was staying overnight. And I heard a story from the team there that they were on walkie-talkies so they could monitor whenever he was moving anyway. They could tell each other quickly, he's moving, quick, get to the front desk, he's coming downstairs. And he got up in the middle of the night, and the night porter said, Bill Marriott's wandering about. I've just seen him getting in the elevator, but I don't know where he's gone. He told the front desk, and they were all in a panic. They found him in the kitchen, in the freezer, getting some ice cream. He got some ice cream from the kitchen. He came out, and then he got the whole night team, because everybody forgets about the night team, and they're the unthanked workers. They really are. He got the whole of the night team to sit down and drink tea with him. He said, make us some tea. Let's have a pot of tea and have a chat. And he spent like 3 hours chit-chatting with them all about the work again. And that's something that he does a lot. He just makes people feel so at ease. I learned so much from watching him, from hearing his teachings, from speaking to people that spoke to him. I was there 13 years before I actually physically met him. I went to Washington to a HR conference of 3,000 people there, and he came on stage, and everybody was laughing at me on my table because I was in tears. I was so happy to see him. I've been waiting to see Bill Marriott for 11 years. But when it got to 13 years, I actually got to meet him because he was coming to my hotel. He was coming to the hotel where I worked on this Sunday. So when his car got about 15 miles away from the hotel, whoever was in the car with him started ringing us to say, we're 20 minutes away, we're 10 minutes away. When it got to 5 minutes away, I thought I was going to have to go and use my inhaler. I was so excited. I said, I'm going to have to use my inhaler. I think I'm going to have an asthma attack. And they said, no, you can't move now. You've got to stand here. And he arrived and he went in and he went about all his stuff and did what he usually does, all back of house. And we didn't see him again. The team that were with me didn't see him again until he was leaving. But just before that, he wanted a show round of the property because they were doing some refurbishment work. They were planning it. So he asked the general manager, will you take me on a walk round? And I was just sort of lurking in the background here, just in awe of listening to him. His wife was with him as well. And he turned, listen to this, you're going to love this one. He said, yes, I'll take you round. We'll just go on a little show round. And he turned around to me and he said, you've got a lovely smile. Would you mind doing me a big favour and take my wife for afternoon tea with you? So I had afternoon tea with Donna Marriott. I was so happy, so happy. I was absolutely thrilled. You were going to say something, Judy?
Yeah, I was going to say, that is a beautiful story. What can we learn from that, from Bill Marriott, and how he does? What is that key nugget in there?
It's all about remembering that everybody in life has a job to do. Everybody in life has a job to do. And you can learn so much more from people by building relationships with people that are actually doing the work on the shop floor. That's what he was doing. He was making a very big point there by saying nobody is more important than anybody else in this property. And I can sit in a meeting with the management team, but the people that really know what's going on are the people who never get to meet the big the chairman of the companies. They never get to meet them in normal life. But with Marriott, it's the other way around.
So what I'm hearing and getting is that when wherever we are, out in our jobs, in our career, in the grocery store,
yes,
to get a deep breath in and knowing that every single person there is an important person,
yes,
and to respect them.
Yes, yeah. Definitely. Everybody.
So I would love to have you go into, there's difficult people out there, and how is it that you would answer a question? How do I deal with those tough relationships that just drive me crazy? What are some tips, maybe, if you and cultural differences and this ingrained, or even family? What is a tip, or maybe a paradigm shift that you could tune into, and what did you have to do? I'm sure that when you were training your employees, there was some kind of, what would you be telling your employees when they would be coming up with things like that?
Well, what I would tell them is, you need to do exactly the same thing. You put yourself in the other person's position, whatever it is that there's always going to be a difference. There's always going to be somebody in any team. There's always going to be somebody that you don't 100% get on well with or gel with. They're not thinking the same way as you. So there's a certain difference there. You feel there's a perceived difference there. But what the best thing to do is to get together. And a lot of people think, like Dr. Stephen Covey teaches in his wonderful teaching, find a win-win. But that's not the top of the mountain. The win-win isn't the top of the mountain. It's about meeting up, finding out more about the person, finding out what makes them tick, finding out what is upsetting them, what the difference is, where the clash is. And it's not about doing the win-win, because win-win is a compromise. Yeah. You find something that person likes, something that this person likes, and we're both giving something away to make that either work situation work or the social situation work. But it's not about that. It's about finding a whole new common ground that's above. It's neither this, it's neither that. It's a whole new way of looking at the situation and saying, I understand where you're coming from. I understand what it is that you like about this situation or you dislike about this situation. This is my point of view. And how can we reach that higher ground and find that new solution that's even bigger and better than what we both had before. It's all about
That takes, I would say that would take so much courage.
Yeah.
Rather than running away, I quit. I quit. So, was there ever a situation in your life where you were knowing that, where you were in that position where, like, and you had the courage to actually call the conversation and go through that?
I've done it many times. I've done it many times, especially in senior management positions,
Oh, yeah.
because there's always a clash. Like it's not necessarily an acrimonious clash, but it's always something that you have a difference of opinion with the person for a different reason, because they're protecting their little area and I'm protecting mine. An example would be human resources and finance. So I want the money for training to train my teams. Finance want to keep that bottom line as healthy as possible. We haven't got any money for training. Things are not going well at the moment. I've heard it so many times. Things are not going well at the moment. We have to cut training. But Marriott again taught me that. Marriott taught me that as well, that in times of hardship, you never cut anything out of the human resource budget. That's why I stayed for 13 years. Yay, my budget was great. You never, because in times of hardship, and I saw this after 9/11 in Manchester, in my home city, 22 four-star hotels. And straight after 9/11, we got a message from Bill Marriott the next day, even though everything was going on, he contacted all the hotels and said, do not cut any of your people. Do not do anything. He said, and it goes one stage better. Listen to this. He said, if anything, in the next 3 months, give them a party to show them that you really value them, because all the other hotel companies will be putting people out on the street, cutting, panicking. And they did that with general managers. They had one general manager per 3 hotels. We didn't lose a single person. And Bill Marriott, very, very clever man, and I take this with me forever. He said, what will happen now? All the good people are coming out on the street, losing their jobs, and we're going to bring them in and train them and give them a big hug. And they're going to love us forever. And that's what happened. And those people
take a deep breath in on that.
And the people that I was working with in that hotel said, I will work with Marriott till the day I die.
Well, that's exactly where I wanted to get to today.
Yes.
Perfect. Because it's like you take a crisis, everything could be going good. You take a crisis, boom. And I mean, we've got crisis in our families now. We've got crisis in our school systems. We've got crisis all over. And this is a winter time where there's like, it's all out there, right? So seeing beyond that crisis and seeing the growth that's happening because of that, rather than shutting down, we're bringing them in, talking to them. And when we were at Marriott LAX, those employees have been there 35, 40 years. They were just
normal. That's normal. Yes.
So tell me, I would love to, I know you have some things, but that is like the key is in times of crisis, turn up the love. Go ahead.
Can I read you a relevant story from this wonderful little book?
Absolutely.
This is a book that was given to all HR directors in the whole of Marriott world. And it's actual stories from our stories. It's from employees, associates that have written in their stories about why they're loyal to Marriott. Can I share one that's very relevant?
And as she reads this story, you know, think of a time or a place or a family that you are in, and perhaps you're not a Marriott employee, but perhaps this story relates to you in some way. And what is the ahas you're getting from this particular story? Maybe as it relates to you, maybe it relates to someone that you've worked with. But yes, let's hone in on this story and bring it right into your lives right now, paradigm shifters. So
Yeah.
take it away.
You might need a Kleenex for this one, ladies, but and everybody, but it's a good one and it's relevant. And it's written by the HR director from one of the hotels in New York. She's been there for a long, long time. And it's called The Company at Its Best. Okay. The lady's name is Nancy Castillo. Okay. You always wonder how you would do in a battle, says Nancy Castillo. Watching how our associates responded on September 11th, I learned that instinct is what carries you through a crisis. Castillo was Marriott's Director of Human Resources for both the World Trade Center and Finance Center hotels in New York City on that day in 2001 when terrorists flew airliners into the Twin Towers and reduced both to rubble. Our associates at both hotels did what they had to do, she said. Thousands of people were counting on us to help them, and there was no time to sit and think. As the first plane struck one of the towers, Castillo ran to the first floor lobby to join the hotel's management and loss prevention team. Our number one priority was evacuation, and somebody handed me a computer printout listing the names of all the guests at the hotel, said Castillo. I held on to it for dear life. Searching the World Trade Center hotel, associates knocked on guest room doors, checked stairwells, and scrambled to get people safely out of the building. Their efforts helped to save the lives of over 1,000 guests. After the first of the Twin Towers had fallen on top of the World Trade Center hotel, Marriott associates joined New York City firefighters in escaping through a debris-laden hole that 2 hours earlier had been a solid wall. Not everyone on the team, sadly, was spared. Two Marriott associates, Joseph Keller and Abdul Maladi, died trying to help the guests and associates evacuate. Maladi was the audio-visual manager, and he was believed to have perished somewhere inside the hotel as he rushed from floor to floor, knocking on guest doors and begging them to leave the hotel. Keller, who was assisting injured firefighters trapped behind debris near the hotel's bell stand in the lobby, died with the firefighters as the second tower collapsed. Castillo headed directly for the Financial Center Hotel a few blocks away, where associates and guests had already been evacuated. Minutes later, the second tower completely collapsed. Castillo, still clutching the precious guest list, hopped into a police car at the end of the block and was whisked away to Staten Island Ferry. As soon as she reached the home of a colleague, Castillo faxed the guest list to the emergency planning team at Marriott headquarters. With both towers gone and firefighters on the scene, attention honed in on determining the safety and whereabouts of associates and guests. The hotel's human resource associates drew on help from regional and headquarters support to set up a command center at the Marriott Hotel on the Upper East Side. Their work assisting Marriott associates will continue for many, many months. A few weeks later, rescuers recovered the Marriott flag that had flown at the World Trade Center Hotel, and that is now on permanent display at Marriott headquarters in Bethesda, Maryland. The tattered flag honors those associates who fell and those who took extraordinary measures to safely evacuate guests and associates. Of all of the associates at the downtown hotel should be recognized for their actions, and they should be very, very proud of themselves. Castillo says, I will never forget the experience we shared. I reflect on it every day. I see the towers on television or in an old movie, and you always think about it, but you can't let it consume your life. I saw this company at its best, adds Castillo, a 28-year veteran of Marriott. This is what our company is all about, doing what it needs to be done to take care of people. So that linked in very well with what you were saying then. Yeah.
Well, so I'll tell you what, let's take a deep breath in on there. Yeah. And imagine a time where you were in crisis and someone came and you knew that you were loved and you could make it. And at any given moment, in any given time, we don't know. We will be that person in crisis, or we will be the other.
Mhm.
Yeah. So with that, let's bring this. This is exactly relationships with others.
Yeah.
And paradigm shifters, global communities all over the world. Let's take a deep breath in on that moment. And if you choose, let's make a conscious commitment to be at peace with everyone,
Mm.
especially ourselves. Be at peace. This is from Wayne Dyer. Be at peace with everyone. No one is capable of making you upset without your consent. So if you begin practicing the intention to be authentic and peaceful with everyone, you can connect to that peace within yourself. And
Mm.
when you have that peace within yourself, no matter what is going on, you can be at peace with others, no matter what's going on, crisis. So,
Heavy one, but I thought it was important because
very important. You know, it's very important.
without the relationships, those employees of the Marriott hotels would have just shot up, panicked, and shot off, and got home, went out home, but they all pulled together. All together as one team. Teamwork and relationships is very closely linked, and it's so important. Yeah, that's
So
why
here's what I wanted to wrap this up, because there's so much more. It's like, let's take a deep breath in here, and appreciation for you and all of the work you've done as a leader of many people all through your lives, and continue, and ask you, what is we as a community of paradigm shifters, what can we hold for you? What would you love to have us hold for you personally?
I would just love another 30 years of being able to help people to build great relationships, and to be able to, that's why I've gone into coaching now. I want to spread the word, and get everybody to understand. I've got a little quote to finish on as well, a Gandhi quote, and I'm sure you've heard this before. It's wonderful. The fragrance always remains on the person, the hand that holds the rose. So when you're kind to other people and you're wonderful with other people, they get the gift of the rose, but you keep the fragrance. It affects you too. Yeah, I love that. That's a Gandhi quote. Wonderful.
Oh, let's take a deep breath in there, and so appreciation for you. And we're gonna get our energy going.
I love it. I love it.
We're gonna send it to the opposite side of the world from where I am, at least. And so we're gonna like supercharge the energy. Right now, the supercharged energy, now this energy goes around, and you receive it knowing that the energy is spilling all over the entire planet.
Wonderful.
There you go. Got it?
Woo, I got it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for letting me come on today.
Oh, thank you so much for who you are.
Judy, share that picture, please. Share that picture. Oh, I can share it myself. Let me just share the picture, because Bill Marriott said he asked me to have afternoon tea with his wife because I had a lovely smile. But I think something else did it that day. Let me show you. Because I was the only one wearing Marriott red. I think he was attracted to my jacket.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, cool beans. I love it.